So hey guys, we're at the Will Rogers Museum in Claremore, Oklahoma. Gonna go in and check some stuff out. But first, I'm gonna try to answer the question, who was Will Rogers? Actually a really interesting guy, and I hope I do him justice. The man, the myth, and the legend. Will Rogers was born November 4th, 1879 in Oologah, Oklahoma, now in Rogers County, just 12 miles from the Will Rogers Memorial. Rogers County was actually named for Will's dad, Clem Van Rogers. Clem was a Cherokee judge and senator that helped write the Oklahoma Constitution and made a name for himself as a rancher. Clem expected Will to take an interest in similar business ventures, but Will's path was his own. In 1901, at the age of 22, Will tried his hand as a rancher in Argentina and then worked on a ranch in South Africa. It was in South Africa that he started his show business career as a trick roper in a circus. From there, he went to Australia and then back to America to continue to perform. In New York, Will caught the attention of a theater manager when he roped a steer that broke loose and started climbing into the stands at Madison Square Garden. He landed a gig to perform daily shows and honed his ability to spin stories as well as his rope while moving up the ranks in vaudeville acts. Wasn't long until Hollywood came calling and he moved west after signing a deal with Goldwyn. He went on to make 71 films through his career and was the top paid Hollywood actor for a time. Will was also a well-received writer with over 4,000 nationally published newspaper columns and regular articles in magazines such as the Saturday Evening Post. If that wasn't enough, he also had a successful radio show from 1929 to 1935. Rogers had deep roots in Oklahoma and was very proud of his Cherokee heritage. Will was named after Cherokee leader Colonel William Penn Adair and was known as the Cherokee Kid in his early performing days. The Cherokee Nation is proud of their son as well and play an active part in the memorial and recently agreed to purchase his birthplace, Dog Iron Ranch, with an agreement to maintain this historical site. Above all else, I would say Will was a compassionate human being who wanted the best for his country and for the world. Will once wrote, and I quote, "When I die, my epitaph or whatever you call those things on gravestones is going to read, I joked about every prominent man in my time, but I never met a man I didn't like. I'm so proud of that, I can hardly wait to die so it can be carved." The debate on how to honor America's cowboy philosopher began shortly after Will Rogers' death in 1935. Discussion on the location of the memorial was at the top of the list. They settled on a 20-acre plot that overlooks the Tiawa Valley that Will had originally purchased in 1911 as the site of his retirement home. After Will's death, this land passed on to members of the Rogers family. Will's widow, Betty Rogers, donated the property to the state of Oklahoma in 1937. The Will Rogers Memorial opened to the public November 4th, 1938, which would have marked Will's 59th birthday. The original 15,000 square foot limestone building was designed by John Duncan Forsyth, and an 11,000 square foot addition was made to the original structure in 1983. As a note for you fellow RVers, this is an RV-friendly site with lots of room to park your rig. This location also participates in the Harvest Toast program, and members are welcome to stay overnight. As with most other Harvest Toast locations, no hookups are available, so a self-contained rig is recommended. This site is one of only 2 sites in which people are entombed on state of Oklahoma property. Will, his wife Betty, 3 of their 4 children, and 1 grandchild are all interred here in the garden. So here you get a shot of the entrance as well as a carved tribute to Will. And moving just past the registration where you get your ticket, you move into this room. Many of these items were donated by the Rogers family, so it's really neat to see saddles that Will had actually used and paintings that were donated by the family. And lots of other interesting facts about Will, notes about his love for baseball, as well as a little video that you can watch. Moving into the rotunda here, you've got a giant cast statue of the man, the myth, and the legend. And just to give you some scope of this room, just a really grand, really high ceilings, and a great tribute to Will. Moving on, you've got a great tribute to Will and his family. You get a glimpse into his daily life and how his family may have spent their time together. Got a great picture of Will and his wife Betty that flank the fireplace here. Got a lot of interesting blurbs about Will's start at Dog Iron Ranch. You'll find a lot of interesting photos of the family here as well. You've got photos of Will's mother and father, as well as some other interesting articles that you can take a look at. Moving on from there, you've got a replica of the Will Rogers study, which was at the Palisades in California. This is Will Rogers' replica study. So this is where he'd come to do his work and unwind, maybe read a few books, prepare for whatever project he had in mind. They've got some great details on Will's radio career as well, and you can actually hear the man in action as they've got a video with some audio playing here. Moving on to the mini movie theater that they have set up, you can take in one of the movies here as well as take a look at some of the movie posters and other pictures and memorabilia that they've got from shooting the 71 movies that Will had starred in. Very successful film career. So one of the things we really liked was the newly renovated movie theater. They do show full feature films through normal museum hours here. In addition to that, they sponsor a family movie night. So make sure you're checking willrogers.com and their Facebook feed for scheduled events there. They typically have popcorn and they have a food truck show up. Children are welcome, so it's a great family outing if you're looking for something to do on a Saturday night in Claremore. Lots of great memorabilia from Will's early days here as well as the Cherokee Kid. And the mural that we're panning over here is absolutely gorgeous, and it's really hard to get an idea of the scope of that mural just through the pictures and the videos, but I hope you get an opportunity to go and really check that out. Some additional memorabilia from his movie days. The mural is no doubt the star of the show for this haul though. Definitely recommend you check out the basement if you got kids or grandkids with you. Tons of stuff to do some hands-on history down here. There's some dress up, puppet stage, Lincoln logs, all kinds of tactile stuff for the kids to explore. So definitely recommend checking this out as well. As we pan through, just give you an idea of what they've got down here. They've got some saddles that the kids can actually hop on the sawhorses. They've got a puppet stage. They've got some dress up stuff for the kids to throw on. Here's the saddles and sawhorses that I had mentioned. They can get on, pretend like they're roping some cattle. Some of the dress up stuff, boots, hats, etc. A lot of physical activities here for the kids to partake in. Hopefully burn off some of that energy before you head back up to the museum and take in some of the sights and sounds. So just a great way to break up your day and give the kids something to do here as well. For the older kids that may be joining you, there's some great murals as well as some information about Will's political affiliations, his presidential friends, and his political ambitions. There's a great diorama exhibit that you won't want to miss either. Tons of detail, tons of work that went into this. Details some of Will's antics, as you can see here, as well as different people, places, and things that had crossed or influenced his life. One of the last exhibits details Will's final journey. Will and his friend, Wiley Post, who was an accomplished pilot that held the record for fastest to circumnavigate the globe, set off to Alaska to survey air routes between the United States and Russia. Poor visibility forced the pair to land in a lagoon near Point Barrow, where they stopped to ask some native Inuits for directions. Upon taking off again, the plane crashed in the same lagoon and killed Will and Wiley instantly. I'm going to leave you with a few words from Will Rogers, because honestly I can't say it any better than he does.
The only problem that confronts this country today is that at least 7 million people are out of work. That's our only problem. There is no other one before us at all. It's to see that every man that wants to, able to work, is allowed to find a place to go to work, and also to arrange some way of getting a more equal distribution of the wealth in the country. Now, it's prohibition. We hear a lot about that. Well, that's nothing to compare to your neighbor's children that are hungry. It's food. It ain't drink that we're worried about today. Here a few years ago, we were so afraid that the poor people was liable to take a drink that now we've fixed so they can't even get something to eat. So here we are in a country with more wheat and more corn and more money in the bank and more cotton, more everything in the world. There's not a product that you can name that we haven't got more of it than any country ever had in the face of the earth. And yet we've got people starving. We'll hold the distinction of being the only nation in the history of the world that ever went to the poorhouse in an automobile. The potter's field are lined with granaries full of grain. Now, if there ain't something cockeyed in an arrangement like that, then this microphone here in front of me is, well, it's a cuspidor, that's all.